This is Kurt Aschermann. I'm the host of the Loudoun Now Sports Talk podcast. And this podcast is designed to explore sports from every level in Loudoun County, but really Northern Virginia as well. And we're very excited to have Mike Colangelo on today. Mike is the owner and founder of Colangelo Baseball, and he's also the owner of Stars Baseball, which is probably the largest, nod your head if I'm right about this, Mike, the largest travel baseball program in Northern Virginia. A lot of teams playing baseball through Stars Baseball through travel. And so, Mike, we really appreciate your coming on.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here, Kurt.
So, Mike, you have had quite a baseball background. I like to make believe I did too. We call ourselves baseball people, don't we? Because it was kind of most of what we cared about. You had a great career at George Mason, where you still hold some records. By the way, I looked some things up there. 160 runs scored, 120 RBIs, 30 stolen bases, slugging percentage of .606. You had quite a career at Mason. Tell us a little about what the competition was like when you were there back in 90, 95, 97.
Yeah, so we were in the old CAA, Colonial Athletic, which was the fourth best conference back in the day. It was, William and Mary, Richmond, East Carolina, UNC Wilmington, Old Dominion, James Madison, George Mason. I think George Washington was in there, but it was a getting two to three teams every year into regionals. It was a great conference. I was blessed at George Mason to have phenomenal coaches in Bill Brown, Dayton Moore, who's now the president of the Rangers, JJ Piccolo, who's now the president of the Royals, Mark Levitt. I mean, just Ben Fonseca was a great mentor of mine. So, although it was a mid-major program, they had Power Four coaches, to be honest. And I took a great deal of advantage to that.
Yeah.
I was a very coachable young man and really prided myself on listening and retaining as much knowledge of theirs as I could. And that showed on the field pretty, starter my freshman year and had good success for 3 years.
Mike, tell us what mid-major means. Many of our listeners perhaps don't. They only know watching Georgia and Alabama. What does mid-major mean?
Yeah, so Division I baseball, there's 300 something teams, and they classify them. They used to be the Power Fives. Now they call it the Power Four schools, which is like the ACC, the Big Ten, the SEC. And so now there's four of those big conferences. So they call them the Power Fours. And so mid-majors were like in East Carolina is a mid-major, George Mason's a mid-major. Schools that are in those Power Four conferences, it doesn't mean they're not better than those. I mean, in the World Series this year at Coastal Carolina, right? That they're part of that
mid-major,
big
right?
mid-major Sun
Yep.
Belt conference, which is a phenomenal baseball conference. So that's kind of what mid-majors is.
Yeah, I played was Division II. I'm 106 years old, so it was a long time ago. We were Division II at Springfield College in Springfield, Mass., and that was supposed to just be below Division I. We played a Division I schedule because we had some pretty good teams. Went to the World Series a couple of times, and I was always surprised even then, and I'm surprised now, that how many great athletes don't play at the highest level. They play at the next level. They as you said, the mid-major. I was up at Springfield last weekend for the fall. They get to play one game in the fall, up to see Springfield play against Nichols College, which I had never even heard of before.
I know Nichols, yeah.
The quality of play was really higher than I expected. It was pretty strong. And I think some of this is coming because of the result of programs like yours. So let's jump into two things. Tell us a little about Colangelo Baseball, because it's not just the travel baseball program. It's way more than that. Tell us about Colangelo Baseball, why you decided to start that, and tell us what it's doing now. What does Colangelo Baseball do for young people playing the sport?
Yeah, certainly. So, I mean, when I played, there wasn't anything like what we have now. I was one of the first, I won't say first, but one of the first major leaguers in like kind of my area of that 1997 to 2002. There was a few of us, but not many. I remember Brian McNichol, Mike Matthews, Matt Kirchner, who kind of lived in our area. I'm not sure if he was from here, but there wasn't a ton of guys when I was coming through. So baseball was really grassrooted into little leagues. As the little leagues numbers were going down, I was still a professional athlete. Travel was starting. So nowadays in the minor leagues, these guys make 28 to 35,000. When I played, we made 6,000 a year. So in the off season,
Mine was $500 a month and $3 a day meal money.
there you go. So
I'm not crying for you, buddy, if you know what I mean. So I'm sorry.
I
So go
get it.
ahead.
I get it. I get it. But so I had to have a job in the off season, right? So I started doing lessons, and 5 or 6 of my early clients had really good success in high school, college, and even pro ball. And so when I got towards the end of my career and I started having some injuries that were nagging, I said, my degree was in education. I graduated from Mason in physical education. I said, well, I can get into teaching or I can teach baseball. And baseball kind of gave me my self-confidence. It gave me a lot more than I gave it.
Right. Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
I wanted to stay in the game. And I didn't know if I could from a business standpoint because, there was not many people doing it. So I started doing lessons out of my garage.
Okay. So wait,
Got
let
into
me
doing,
interrupt you. So what you're talking
yeah,
about is individual lessons.
yeah,
Parents would come to you with their player and say, look, we'll pay you a certain amount of money. Teach
yeah,
my son to be a better hitter or a better pitcher or a better catcher.
correct. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I was one of the first people that started doing these big camps where we'd bring in 40, 50 colleges on a Sunday and we'd have 200 or 300 athletes and they would come in and recruit our kids. And we did that for about 10 years. And then I got to the point, it was probably about 2010 to 2012, where I was retired and I started dabbing into travel teams.
Retired from pro baseball, you mean?
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah. Right. Right.
And so started doing travel teams and realized that the niche was that most of these travel teams were run by dads that have various different degrees of backgrounds in baseball, some high, some low, but they're missing the professionalization of it, right? For instance, something simple as just getting kids nice baseballs, getting
Yeah.
kids have professional lineup cards, have ball bags, have all the same color helmets. And I realized quickly it didn't cost any more money to do it right. But when it's not your job and you're just kind of a volunteer, you just kind of show up and not saying it's wrong, but you just show up, you run a quality practice,
Right.
hopefully, and you
Right.
go home to your work job. And so me and another guy started doing 3 to 4 travel teams, and we started really cranking out some really good athletes at the professional level through this program. And, that kind of came from Colangelo Baseball's instruction. And we started dabbing into travel baseball in about 2010, 2011.
Yeah. So let me back up to the Little League thing, because the thing that in my mind is missing from youth baseball, especially, and that's the sport that I knew the best, is things like cutoff and relay systems are never taught to an 11-year-old playing in Loudoun County Little League. Now, don't hold me to Loudoun County Little League. I don't mean to be degrading them. They do a lot of good. A lot of kids get to play. A lot of parents get to help out. But the basics that go beyond, I'll give you an example of that. I think I told you my grandson's on one of your Stars teams. And the other day at one of their games, I heard their catcher, they're 13 years old, their catcher yelled, "Get over there," on a ground ball to the right side, which is something in baseball that's been in baseball since the game was invented. We used to say, I was a catcher, so we used to say the
Okay.
pitchers are too dumb to know they're supposed to cover first base on a ground
So
ball on the
warn
right
them. Yeah.
side. So the catcher's job is to yell, "Get over there," right? And I
Yeah.
heard a Stars catcher say, "Get over there." And I said, see, that's the different level. I was talking to my daughter at the
Yeah.
time. That's the level you're getting here that you don't
Yeah.
necessarily get at Little League.
Yeah. So I probably would say what happened to Little League, and not to be blunt, but it was a failed business. You
Hmm.
know, Little League is what I grew up in. I mean, I was one
Yeah.
pitch from the Little League World Series, and I cried for a week. It broke my heart not going to Williamsport. And I've never told this story, but I swore to myself I would never walk foot in Williamsport because I was so upset. And
That
the day that
you didn't get there. You were
because I
upset
didn't
that you
get
didn't
there.
get there.
Yeah. And I said, and the day Loudoun South Little League made it to Williamsport, Justin Lee was one of the kids that I trained. He was on that team. And I looked at my wife. I said, I'm taking my 2 boys. We're going to go support that team. And I did. I showed up and, and it was the greatest weekend of my life. I loved it. It was
Yeah.
so pure. But as I'm sitting there as a Stars owner watching the purest form of Little League, I realized that really Little League it's like those things in life that we see it in technology world. They didn't see what was forthcoming and they didn't want it's like the old Blockbuster story, right? Like,
Yeah.
you know,
They
so I
haven't
think
been able
Little
to
League could have
keep up.
yeah. And so little things like cuts and bump plays. And, when we do our coaches clinic, I do go over bump plays with our coaches. I hope they all teach them correctly. Maybe they
Right.
don't, but we do go over it. So,
Yeah.
you practice more, you play more. But I don't think it's too much, right? Most travel teams in any organization practice twice a week and play on the weekends and probably have, I don't know, 50 games a year they probably play, I would guess, 40 to 50. Mm. I think travel ball was built as a more necessity than people thinking, whoever it was, they hijacked Little League and took it over. I think it was more of a necessity. And now it's become more the norm.
But the little league is necessary too, Mike, because
Absolutely. Yep.
because if you look at a little league team and there's 12 kids on that team, one and a half of them might qualify to play on a travel team someplace. But that doesn't mean the other 10 and a half kids shouldn't have a chance to play baseball. So, the thing I like about what I've heard about Stars especially is you're not rating Little League per se. You're letting parents and
No.
kids make the decision themselves. Do I
Yeah, my
want to
son
play
played
at
Little League.
Yeah, yeah, my grandson did too, and so did I, for goodness sake. But you're leaving it to the kid and the parents to decide,
Yep.
do you want to go
Yep.
to a little bit higher level? No, you're going to have to give 2 nights a week for practice, probably in a cage someplace and on the field another time, and then you're going to play weekends, etc. But it doesn't rule out the kids who just aren't ever going to get to that level,
Yeah.
and it shouldn't.
And the one thing I think always gets overlooked is, let's say you and I are coaching a team and we got Johnny who plays left field, right? Because that's our best fit for our travel stars team at 11U. But if Johnny duels up and plays Little League, he may also play short and second, right? So he's diversifying his vulnerability when he goes to high school because he's learning different positions. I mean, Little League, there's actually a place for Little League, even with kids that play travel ball. Like, not for everyone, but
That's
there is a
interesting.
place for it. There is
Is
a
there
place for it.
Can there be conflict there though? I mean, can I
Sure.
have a travel game and a little league game on the same night, and how do I choose which is which? And there's some conflict there, to be honest about it, right?
Yeah, and I had kids that when I coached my son, one of the Little League presidents at DTQ's son played for me, and I had a simple rule: just communicate. If you feel you need to go to that Little League game, I'm good with it, right? Just I want to know he's not at my practice. So when I do
Yeah,
my practice plan,
yeah.
I don't count him in. That's all.
All right, so let's go to the next step in this travel wall thing that I was shocked to learn. Not shocked in a negative way. I was surprised. I mean, I would have liked to have done. I was doing the clinics you're talking about 40 years ago. I was doing them I coached high school and Legion Bowl, and I did those side clinics for parents, probably $5 for an hour's work kind of thing in those days. I never expected I was ever going to make any money. I was surprised to hear that the coaches in travel baseball, maybe not all travel baseball, but I think Stars, receive a stipend. They get paid to coach.
So not true.
Oh, okay.
So we do have paid coaches.
Mm-hmm.
So for instance, like if I coach when I was coaching my son's 11U team,
Right,
I was a dad. I was a volunteer.
right.
If I coach your grandson's team and I don't have a kid on it, then I would be a paid coach.
Okay.
So I would say probably in the Stars, 85% of our teams are at the 14 and below level are volunteer coaches.
Volunteer coaches. But they're trained. You teach them, right? I
Yeah.
mean, they're
Yeah,
not
we
like a
got
little
we
league coach that kind of gets thrown to the wolves and has to decide how to.
No, no, no.
Yeah,
So, yeah, I mean, one reason, to be honest, like, I mean, I guess this comes out a little conceited, which people who know me may say this is normal, but, I take I take pride in being the best. I work my tail off. So one thing we do for our coaches is we've got an app for the coaches to be able to help the players out. We do a blast program for 13, 14 where we email the kids drills. On our website, on the backside, we have a coaching cheat sheet for dynamic warmups and drills they can go,
so
if a
that's
coach.
like it's like an intranet site. It's just for the coaches.
Yeah. Yeah. Yep. Yep. Like you should be able to, if you can't, you can call me out on it and I can get you set up with it. But you should be able to get your grandson and say, hey, the Futures app Coach Colangelo was talking about on my podcast. Show me it. And we have about 11 big leaguers on it, such as like JT Realmuto, Bobby Witt, Blake Trennan, Christian Yelich. There's guys on there that have their drills for the kids to look at. And then we have 300 drills on there, me and a guy named Kevin LaChance, who coaches for the Dodgers in the minors. So we have a player development side for our coaches. Now, how much do they use it? Every coach is probably a different level.
Different level.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. What's
And
the
I think that's
future?
important.
What's the future, Mike? Is travel going to expand? Is it going to? How many counties are you in now? How many counties have Stars teams?
We're probably in about, don't know exact, let's say if you count like West Virginia, probably like 7 or 8 counties.
Counties. And
Yeah.
these are all for our audience. The important thing about travel baseball is you're not playing in a league. You're
Yep.
you're independent. Do the coaches line up the games, or does the organization line up the games? So for example, my grandson has a 6 o'clock and an 8 o'clock game tonight, which by the way I didn't know about because I didn't go on my daughter's calendar. Do the coaches schedule those, or is that done through Stars?
So it's a combination. Our general manager is Mark Wright. He's the head coach at Freedom in South Riding. And so him and I, every coach submits their tournament schedule and we have to okay it. Not because we want to micromanage, we just want to make sure they don't play too little, too much. And then a lot of them belong to NVTBL, which is Northern Virginia Travel Baseball League. And they sign up for that league, and then the league will schedule them 6 or 8 doubleheaders. So
I
it's a
got you.
combination of both.
Interesting. You also have showcase teams. And I went on the
Yeah.
website and I tried to follow that. I've heard about the showcase teams because, as I say, my grandson plays by the way, plays for Coach Wright on that 13
Yep.
under
Yep.
team. Tell us what the difference is between a showcase team and just a travel team.
Really showcase. The name showcase came in about 10, 15 years ago. It basically means you're in high school. That's the simple
Oh,
version.
is that right? Okay.
Yeah. And so right now, your son's playing 13U.
Right.
When you go to showcase, they put the grad year on it. So freshmen, they would call themselves 2029. That's their grad year.
Right.
My son's a 2027, which means he's a junior in high school. 2029s would be freshmen.
I got you.
Your son's probably a 2031, and your grandson's a 2031 probably.
Yeah.
So that's all show. And then showcase, they just changed the recruiting rules. So colleges can't talk to kids until August 1st after their sophomore year. So in the old days, when my son was younger, you could get recruited in any grade.
One of my
Right or wrong, I like the new rules, but now it's August 1st after your sophomore year. So what we do as a Stars is we're trying to put kids in tournaments, put kids in front of us as much, because really at the end of the day, we've got 5 or 6 coaches and we're the ones selling the kids. I mean, we
Yeah.
go to these tournaments to kind of say, hey, Coach Kurt at Bridgewater, come watch
Right.
Joe Schmo
Right.
play.
So, what's interesting, so this was probably, I'm embarrassed to tell you, I think 35 years ago, I did a series of clinics for the Yankees called Coaching the Coach Clinics. And we did them right on the
Okay.
warning track. So the youth coaches would come in, sit in 2 or 3 rows, and then I would stand on the warning track, used my own son as the thing, and we did those clinics. From those came showcases that were literally tryouts. So at
Like
Yankee
individual
Stadium,
showcases.
that Yankee Stadium, the
Yep.
field next to it was called McCombs Dam. It's still there, I think, although the new stadium's on it now. And I remember actually going to a showcase as a player at McCombs Dam. And what it was the college coaches would come and watch the players and they'd work us out. So that's why I was a little confused about the difference in the showcase team versus a tryout.
And we do those internally. So like next weekend, we're kind of doing like a small showcase just for our 27, 28s. We're bringing in like 8 to 10 colleges to a local high school in Northern Virginia, and they'll do defense with the coaches. Like the coaches will coach our kids, and then they'll play 1 game each. And then on Sunday, they'll take batting practice so the coaches kind of see them hit live on the field. And then each team will play 1 game each. And then what we ask the coaches to do, because we have to pay the coaches to show up. And what all I ask the college coaches is, hey, take some notes and then highlight the players that you are interested in. And then that way I can give feedback to those. Fans like, hey, these 8 schools or 4 schools or 1 school is interested in your son. So they still have what you did. Those are still around.
Same thing. So I'll tell you a crazy story. When
Yeah.
I was at Boys and Girls Scouts of America and I retired, and I went to work for a guy who had this idea called the National Collegiate Scouting Bureau. And it was the early days of computers. Now you're really finding out how old I am, right? But the idea was that we would work kids out, load the data, and we'd work them out with Major League Scouts so that the college coach would trust the data. We'd load it into a computer and a college could buy that. It really was a brilliant idea.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, the man who owned the company drove it into the ground. but the concept was pretty basic. It was simple. Just give coaches access. And with
And you're
technology
vetting.
today, it's got to be a lot easier.
Yeah, so that's basically there's a company out there right now that I think does a pretty solid job called PBR, Prep Baseball.
Well, I've read about that. Yeah.
And so they do you just laid out their business plan. They take your
Yeah.
grandson at 16 years old, run to 60, arm velocity. They vet the
Yep.
data. The colleges go to a website and what you're talking about, they do. So, I mean, you
Yeah. And
guys were way ahead of your time.
the key to it was, of course, we hired Major League scouts to do the showcase, or what was later called the showcase, so the college coach would trust it. Speaking of college coaches, what do you think about Vitello going from Tennessee to the San Francisco Giants?
So I was just with him last week. I met him down at a tournament in Jupiter, Florida. And first off, I think he's a great coach and a great guy. I don't know how I feel about him going to Major League Baseball. Time will tell, but
Yeah.
But, everyone's making a big deal of it. But, there's a guy that was in the playoffs this year that did the same thing. Pat Murphy was the Arizona State coach
That's right.
for a long time.
It wasn't
And
Murphy at
so
Notre Dame. Wasn't Murphy at Notre Dame with Craig Counsell? Never mind. Go
he
ahead.
might have
Keep
been.
going.
He
Yeah.
might have
Go
been.
ahead.
When I was in high school, he was at Arizona State. He did Barry Bonds on. But nonetheless, I mean, to me, maybe I don't know, I minimize how important a playing background is. I don't think because I play in the major leagues makes me a better coach than the next guy.
Right.
Some of my best coaches in professional baseball never made it out of rookie ball.
Yeah. Yeah.
One never played professional baseball. I believe a woman can manage a big league team one day. I
So
believe
do I.
there's
I
nothing
agree.
wrong with that. I
I
believe
agree.
it's a strategy game. It doesn't discriminate. It doesn't, whether it's gender, whether it's nationality, whether it's or background in baseball. So I think if Tony Vitello is as organized and as smart as I think he is, I think he's gonna be a great manager because you're managing situations and you're managing culture.
That's right.
He's not going out there taking that bat. If he needs to take that bat in the ninth inning, we're going to
Then
be in trouble.
you got in trouble. The thing I liked
Right.
about the way he handled it is he said it was a selfish decision. I don't know if you saw
Yeah,
that. He said
I
it was a
did, yeah.
selfish decision. And he admitted, he was out front to say, the chance that I get to manage in the major leagues, how could I pass that up? It was a personal and a selfish decision.
Yeah.
I do too.
Yeah.
I do too. What else would you like to tell us, Mike? What else
Well,
is
I
going
think
on that maybe we can spread the word about? I don't know. Loudoun Now, especially this podcast, designed to be a public service. We're trying to get the word
Yeah.
out to people.
Well, I think two things. One, you asked about the future. I think the future of travel baseball is parents being educated on where their kid plays and ask questions and be part of the process. Don't try to own the process. Meaning, I think the biggest issue is, my older son, when he was younger, wasn't the best player on my team or even in the top 8. And he had to fight his way up to be a really good player. And there's nothing wrong with that. And so I think some parents, they want the success now and just enjoy. I mean, I'm getting to see my youngest, which is I have 2 boys. He's going to be done playing baseball. He'll go to college. And my greatest times are going to be the days I remember of me on the field, my boys at 8, 9, 10 years old. And I would just tell parents to embrace it and enjoy it and don't try to dictate the journey. Just get on the road, be a fan of your kids, support them. And if you see something that you think is wrong, just ask a question. I've never met, again, my degree's in education. I've never met a teacher that doesn't like students. They don't get paid enough money to flunk your kids and not like them. It's the same thing as a coach. I've never met a coach that wants to put a lineup out there to lose or put a kid in a situation to fail, right? We're always trying to find a way to make kids succeed. And the second part of this is, I think in Loudoun County, because this is a Loudoun County-based show, the one thing I respect about Loudoun County baseball is how tremendous their high school coaches are. And I could go on and on about Sam Plank, Mark Wright, Joe McDonald, Galvin Morris, who's at Briar Woods now, the Lightridge coach. I mean, they've done a very excellent job, in my opinion, of finding really quality high school coaches. And it's harder and harder because I'm now out of coaching high school. It's harder and harder to find quality high school coaches. And my prediction of the future is high school baseball will be the new little league in the next 5 years. High school sports in general, because our public school, I don't know what you want to call it, public school system, we just don't fund well enough for these coaches. And for me to get 10 dozen baseballs for practice was really difficult. For me to get a pitching machine that I had to have was impossible.
Right. Right.
And so you're going to see these academies. So I actually work at an academy now, PDG out of Fredericksburg. We are bringing it up to Northern Virginia next year. St. James has got an academy. They got football, basketball, baseball, track and field. The private sector is growing bigger and stronger. Highland, PVI, O'Connell, St. John's. I know I'm missing some. I'm not trying to be disrespectful,
That's
but
all right. That's all right.
the private sector, the private academy,
Private schools, you mean, or
the,
private academies?
the private academies and the private schools, their sports are starting to grow stronger. And, I saw it at Colgan. I would lose young kids. They're like, well, I'm going to go to so-and-so. Like, man, we do a great job here. But, I couldn't fight it. I mean, how can I fight the education of O'Connell or PVI
Mm-hmm.
with the baseball, program they have? So I think if public schools don't wake up, which I don't think they will, but if they don't wake up and say, hey, we got to take care of these coaches, we got to make sure our facilities are up to par, that we're giving them the right resources, you're going to start seeing the floodgates open up. And again, there's going to be a place for high school sports. There's no doubt. I'm a huge proponent of it. I think it's awesome. I just know what we do at our academy right now. I couldn't have done it at the high school I was at, and we were really good. We have tremendous coaches there. We have, resources. We have 5 machines on the field at all times. I mean, the efficiency of the practice makes the players much better, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I use that as an example because we started this podcast on, Little League,
Right.
we both grew up in it and loved it. And now there's this travel phenom of all sports, not just baseball. And I think now you're starting to see the private schools, the PBIs and those, and now also these private academies pop up.
So I think what I hear you're saying, and I'm glad to hear it, is that it's not that they're going to go away. There's going to always be a
No.
place for a player at the
Yep.
high school level. They're not going to be as perhaps proficient as the teams that are moving forward. Your son's at Clemson playing club baseball, right?
Yeah.
He's not on the
Yep.
varsity, but he's playing club baseball and he's having fun. He's a second-team All-American, for goodness sakes. He loves it. So he gets to play. He's not going to play baseball at Clemson on the varsity, but he gets to play. So maybe that's the evolution of high school sports and the evolution of things like Little League, that they become, you still have a chance to play. You still have a chance to get on the field.
Yeah, you mentioned earlier how good you saw Nichols State and Springfield when you were out there. I mean, our academy plays JUCOs and Division III schools in the fall. Even though we're high school, we're really good, so we're able to keep up with those. We played Mary Washington about 4 weeks ago, and I haven't seen them. I've never seen them play actually my whole life. And they're Division III, and I left that game so darn impressed with those players and that coach. I mean,
I was too. Jeez.
I was amazed at their base running, their fundamentals, their players, their attitudes, from A to Z. I could not give Mary Washington a higher review. And I don't even know the coach. I know a few kids on the team.
Yeah.
When I was in college, Mary Washington was below average. Like Division III baseball was below average.
Right.
I mean, Division III baseball now in today's world is equivalent, if you're a parent, if you're an adult between the ages of 36 and however old you want to go up,
Mm-hmm.
Division III baseball is what mid-major used to be when I played.
Yeah, I think that's true.
I mean, there's guys throwing 88 to 94 in Division III baseball.
We sat behind the kid with the gun, and the kid from Nichols threw 92 on his first pitch. Right hand on 92 on his first pitch. Yeah. So in between innings, I went down to him. I said, is that the fastest you've gotten today? And he said, no. Now, this is Division III. Now, of course, in our day, the gun was the radar gun that the police department loaned the coach to be able to track. And so you were probably 10 miles an hour off kind of thing. But I was shocked they had kids from Nichols State, I think it's Nichols State, throwing 92. So I think you're right. I think the quality is getting better and better.
The kid, it's the evolution of the athlete. The difference is, you and I are probably 15 years apart. And then I'm 20 something. I'm 30, 35 years apart from high school kids now. But I mean, you and I are baseball enthusiasts. We love the game. And we are seeing in our own generation the evolution of the athlete, right? When I was in the major leagues, a guy that threw 97 looked like a unicorn.
It was
nowadays 97
ridiculous.
I mean, you're going to turn the World Series on tonight, and the average fastball was going to be 95.
And coming out of the bullpen is going to be 101.
It's ridiculous.
I caught Rick Russell's first minor league game in Huron, South Dakota in 1970. And he was probably throwing 88, and that was cheese. I mean, that was That now 88, you're lucky if you get on the field anymore
But
with
guys throw sliders at 88 now,
88. That's right. That's right. Change-ups at
So
91.
I think we're seeing the evolution. I mean, you start looking at, I tell people this all the time, the evolution of basketball. It's changed, right? But not dramatically. I mean, Michael Jordan could play in today's game. He could. And don't get me wrong, a lot of guys in our generation could play in today's game. But the pure numbers, right? Because baseball's a numbers game. The speed, the strength, the range, like there's just so much that is improved because these athletes are not just specializing, but they're becoming better at their craft.
Yeah.
And that's hard for me to say, like, hey, these younger guys were better than I was. But you know what? These younger guys are better than I was, to be honest.
Just think about the fact, I don't know about if you did. I think we're more than 15 years apart, by the way. I never
Then you
heard
look
of
real good.
Yeah, 77, not too bad, right? I never heard of the term spin rate. Right? Until what, 10 years ago, 15 years ago? They're talking about increasing spin rate. First of all, I'll tell you a quick funny story and then I'll let you go. I faced Vita Blue in spring training in 1970. He threw 3 pitches and I only saw one of them. And I called my father that night to say, Dad, I'm coming home. And I got released the next day, right? But people used to tell me they could see the spin on the slider, the dot on
like
the
a little
slider.
dot.
They could say, I saw blurs, white blurs, right? So how these guys are able to pick up, and then how the pitchers can increase and improve spin rate is something I'd never heard of.
Yeah.
Something brand new.
Yeah, the dot on the slider is interesting. I could see it. And some guys can't. And a funny story, we were in a regional game, and one of my players, who's now the #1 at Virginia Tech, kid named Brett Renfro, he's a junior. He'll be a big draft pick this year. Great kid. And he was first team All-State outfielder for me. He was a great player. And we're in the regional semifinal game. You win this game, you go to states. This is in 23. And it's like the 5th inning, and it's 0-0. We're locked horns with another great pitcher named Jordan Capuano out of Patriot. Tremendous pitchers. Brett's going against him. Brett's hitting. Brett's also a great two-way player. 5th inning, he comes and strikes out, and I go, Brett, come on, man, what are you doing? He goes, hey, coach, man, I can't see the spin. And I always tell him the story. That's when I knew his batting days were done.
Yeah.
So when you can't see spin as a hitter, woo, the older you get, man, the game gets tough.
One more drop a name story. I did some stuff with Rod Carew a very long time ago. And he told me, He told me a story once. That Ron Luciano, the umpire, Ron Luciano, they were in a laugher. And he said to Luciano, if I call what this pitch is before it gets here, will you call it a ball, no matter where it goes? And Luciano was crazy enough to say, sure, go ahead. He said he could pick up the spin upon release, Mike, which is something that, now that's a little bit, I guess there's players that can do it today. I just don't know.
I played with Tony Gwynn for a year in San Diego. And, I always tell people that, I had Tony Gwynn and Ricky Henderson on the same team. Tony Gwynn would swear that he could see this for a changeup, fastball. He could see wrist angles. Now, I'm telling you, I would study the heck out of it, and I could never see it. And so I think there's levels of precision of great hitters. And then the second one was Ricky Henderson. He would sit in the dugout and he'd be like, he's going to pick off here. And the guy would pick off. And I'd be like, how'd you know he's going to pick off? He goes, you see how his feet got closer together?
Yeah.
I'm like, the great players that I played with, Manny Rivera would know when you change your toe hole in the batter's box. Like if you tried to back off, he'd throw his cutter more. Like the great players, yes, they're greatly talented, but they pay attention greatly to detail. And that's what kind of sets them apart for a long time.
Yeah. I used to pride myself on being able to remember what a hitter did and what pitch he hit 2 games ago when we played him a week ago, that kind of stuff. I can't remember.
That's the old school stuff.
Yeah, that's right. Now I can't remember what I had for breakfast. I was talking to the coach of Springfield about, he said, you know how we give signs now? We've got a watch on our wrist. And I said, what are you talking about?
That's what we do, yeah.
He said he's got
programs from the
dugout.
dugout.
The old days of those are gone. He said, no.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. Well, Mike, this is better. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, technology, the last thing is the future of this game really is tied up in technology. So I think the athletes have gotten better, but the technology has advanced this game more than anything. So I think if for any young parent out there, I would say, don't fight. Like guys like us want to fight technology, right?
Yeah,
your generation, especially.
Yeah.
Don't fight it. Just embrace it, learn it.
Don't bother.
It's not going anywhere.
Yeah. It's
So,
just going to get better.
yeah.
Mike, thanks for your time. This has been a great
Thank you.
conversation. We've been
I
on
appreciate
almost
it.
40
Anytime,
minutes,
Kurt.
and we probably
Yep.
could have gone another 20 minutes. And so
Yeah.
appreciate your perspective and your understanding of how youth baseball is growing and expanding. And thanks for all you're doing for youth baseball players. And thanks for Colangelo Baseball. It's been great. Thanks, Mike.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you, Kurt.
Thanks for Mike Colangelo for being on. If you have someone you think we should talk to, someone involved with sports in Loudoun County or even in Northern Virginia, send an email to loudonnowsportstalk@gmail and give us some information, and we'll see about whether we should get them on. In the meantime, thanks for being part of this podcast. Keep swinging.